Good morning and welcome to Frank's School, 7th year, 37th day, first video. I think I had the number wrong yesterday. I had 35, it should have been 36 up there. That doesn't matter. Another thing, I think I said 2 and I had 3 fingers up. I think I meant 3. I don't know. I did a little stuff. All right, I'm dealing with characters for this wordless movie, Resurrection. And we've got Mary, the old man, and Bryn, his daughter, the thin blonde. Lots to say about her. Festus, I want to deal with him. Batch, the comic character, and now Namma, who has arrived from from the water. And I talked about her yesterday. Now I need to go back to Festus because I gave this more thought. I had said, in this movie, I'd been thinking Festus's lust for these women could drive the plot. I mean, it could supply the tension that could drive the plot, which you've got to have. And in a word, well, in any case, you've got to have drama. You've got to have some kind of tension and stuff. And I had thought about lust. I thought, all right, well, he's going to lust after Bryn and Namma, both beautiful women, both unavailable for reasons he doesn't know. Well, I've thought a good bit more about that, and I think that would do an injustice to Festus. I think he could be a much more complicated character. Already, I had thought he's the most interesting of all the characters because the viewer would not know why he's on this heavy trip. Why is he so sad? Why is he so angry? What is it? And I don't need to hide it from you viewers now because I'm trying to construct this. And I'll tell you why it is. It's because he has lost his wife and his children. They were separated. Or it doesn't explain how. You don't really know how, but that's what he's carrying. He's lost his family, and he's alone and has really no hope of seeing them again. Now that gets resolved at the end within the coda. I'm sort of revealing this all to you now. Within the coda, they show up, and it resolves him. But anyway, that's what he's carrying. Now, back to Festus and this business of lust. Well, the wet t-shirt effect. You got this gorgeous woman splashing her way up through the water. They come in, and liken it almost dance-like toward now it's a group up there on the top of the hill. Well, I don't know to what extent a filmmaker would want to use this effect, but naiads or nymphs were typically presented as very desirable, sexy objects. I don't know. That's just there, but the lust can be there. But the thing I thought about with Festus is it can be controlled virtually completely by an attitude of courtly love. Now, I've talked about this elsewhere in a course. Courtly love, which developed in the Middle Ages, the late Middle Ages. They think possibly from the Arabs, and I researched this a bunch yesterday. Festus, I think it should be ultimately suggested or even revealed that he is Muslim. But anyway, it made its way into Europe, and its treatment of women resulted in the business of my lady, as we think of it now, kneeling before a woman. It's closely related to it's called the Marian culture with an A, the worship of the Virgin Mary. They got linked into this as well. But anyway, he is completely bound by the idea that you no matter what, you treat a woman as a lady. This is part of an old code of chivalry. It's related to platonic love, although these are things that if you're interested, you could look them up and you might have an interesting trip of it too, like I did yesterday. Platonic love is a love that is not sexual really, but it's very strong love and between men and women, and it's more complicated than this. But it's certainly not simply lust, and that's what I'm getting to. That Festus, he's a man, and he sees that these women are beautiful and all that, but he is much more complicated than that, and he is chivalrous. Now I think of Don Quixote. I should underline this, Don Quixote, that work where about a knight who hasn't given up on chivalry. As chivalry is sort of passed from the world, he still sticks to it. He's an old timer, and that's the way he thinks. And I've never read this, and I would not have time to read it all, but I've studied it a good bit as well. You know, you could certainly argue that, well, is chivalry, people say all the time, is chivalry dead? I don't think so. You know, and I thought about this. So here's a quote from Shakespeare, Henry V. "We are the makers of manners," says Henry to his the woman that he's going to marry, Kate, I think he says, or Catherine. Kate, we are the makers of manners. He's a king. They can make manners what they want to be. And it's a time that right now times are changing so fast, and I see whether it is really happening or can happen, I would like to see an end to this pussy grabbing culture. And I think most of you know just what I'm talking about when I say that pussy grabbing culture. An attitude toward women which is anything but chivalrous. You know, I researched manners, politeness, kissing the hand of a lady. I came across well, there are a lot of images of Macron, the French leader, kissing the hand of his lady, his first lady in France. So even that's kind of a leftover of it as well. It is not dead. When I used to teach about this, I used to ask the girls in my class, did they like being treated like a lady? Because of, you know, feminism and women's lib and all that. And ultimately they did. They normally said, because I didn't know. I thought, you know, you're young, you're living in this different world. You know, I used to say that men ought to try sometime taking their hat off in the presence of a lady. And, you know, as I would teach through this matter. I've got Lancelot and Elaine there. Because, well, you probably don't know this story, but Lancelot, as an example, his lady was Guinevere. Now, unfortunately, she was married to King Arthur, if you could possibly leave that out. But at one point in the story, a woman named Elaine falls in love with Lancelot, and it actually ultimately does her in. But he is true to his lady, in this case, even though he's not married. And in a sense, that's a little bit like Festus. I even thought a little bit about having it go the other way, that Namma would desire Festus, that she would be driven by lust because of his virility. And I don't know. You know, and in a way I shouldn't be getting into this because I'm dealing with the relationships among these characters now. But I thought I should take time out. I even looked into this question, this question of matriarchy. Was there a time when women ruled in you know, prehistoric times? It's been debated, and you know, you could say the jury's still out on that. The relationships between men and women in terms of strength and power and stuff is more interesting than you might think. And feminism picked this up. I guess there's a first and a second and a third wave of feminism. They picked this up, and they like to argue that idea. I don't know, but I do know that here in the year 2019, you can see it happening, that women are rising in influence. On the news, you hear women's views of things a lot. And I'm a fan of it. I welcome it. I'm really delighted to see that. Well, this may seem wide-ranging. It is wide-ranging. But it was brought on by this matter of Festus and Namma. And I think their relationship could become very much of a driving force. And the viewer could easily wonder, what's going on with him? Why doesn't he go for it? But see, it's held off. That knowledge that I just shared with you, they don't know. But he is being true, even though he thinks she's gone forever. Nonetheless, he is true to his lady. Bye for now.